Everything in the economy has been faked. Every reason to cut now at the Fed. In fact, we might even get a larger cut. So the key levels that we need to pay attention to in the crypto market, also not only Bitcoin, but also what we're seeing in Ethereum and other things in the altcoin space. But looking at this key level, beautiful inverse head and shoulders that we have set up here. We just tapped against that neckline yet again. And the numbers are, price action is actually selling off a little bit into this actually bullish. Is it bearish? What does this data mean, especially with this revision down over 900,000 jobs? Everything going into the last year about the strength of the economy looks like was faked. So what is going to happen, especially in the crypto market? We're going to be diving into this and more. I want to see you getting active in the live stream right now. I want to see GMs. I want to see GMs. Are you bull? GM, are you bear? So GM bull, GM bear. Let me know. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell. We're getting this going here in just a moment. So let's get active in the chat and let's go. We about to get it. The market setting up. Do not mess this up, everybody. I'm just getting this live stream shared out everywhere it needs to go. We're going to be diving in here in just one split moment. So let's get active and let's go. Everything in the market was faked in regards to that jobs reports data that we've been seeing, the strength of the economy. And we saw major revision down, which I've been talking about for the last couple days and the last couple weeks about some of that data. And we can see it now has actually come out. U.S. payrolls data revised down 900,000. What does this mean? It means that strength of the labor force has not been there. That's one of the decisions not only investors are paying attention to, but also, very case in point, the Fed, like Jerome Powell and the Fed governors, when they're making those decisions on interest rates. So while they kept those interest rates high, part of that reason was the economy, the labor market was strong, and it seems like all of that data was fake. So, I mean, it's all but completely locked in now that we're going to get that rate cut. And I mean, look at this, 2 million total jobs revised away in Biden's last year. It was all fake. So say what you want about Trump. There's been just shenanigans galore going on leading into this last year, coming into where we're at right now. And maybe Trump was not wrong saying too late, Powell. Now, is it a little bit childish in the way he's handled it? Maybe, but also the pressure that he's being put on now is getting a little bit more substantiated by the data. So let's look at what this might mean for when we're, obviously dancing around in this crypto market and what this could mean for our bags going into the middle of this month and beyond. Is the bull market over now that the economy is showing a lot of weakness? Because you have to realize, although the data does show that there's been a lot of fake data that these decisions have been made on, this does signal the higher likelihood of the rate cuts and probably more of them and maybe quicker than expected. However, for an investor looking at the market, this also suggests that the economy is not doing nearly as good as they thought. So while this could be a bullish impetus in the near term going into the next month or two, it also could signal some pretty big structural weakness going on in our economy, which could make some people de-risk. So you need to pay attention to not just the immediate bullishness that this could signal. This also could be saying, hey, just be aware. And I talked about this in the last couple of days here on the stream, also on the Discover Crypto 4 p.m. stream I did yesterday with Josh, about as bullish as we want to be. And as much as I don't think the 4-year cycle is going to play out just like it has in the past, it doesn't mean you don't need to be risk-minded in terms of what you're doing, what your entry strategy is, what your exit strategies are, and what are going to be the different signals to you, the triggers that basically force you to act to exit. Because I don't want you guys round tripping like many of us have done. All of us have done it at least once with at least one asset. Do not round trip just because you're hoping for more. Okay. Now this, this is shaking up what we're seeing in the markets. In fact, if you come over to the S&P 500, yes, it signals those rate cuts, so it should go to risk on, but let's just ignore the news. Let's just ignore the news and look at the chart itself. Going back, we can look at the bottom of this chart where my mouse is going. It shows you the dates. This is going back to this peak right here, which is May. The sell-off, the rebound. Oh, we broke the new highs. We came down, retested on the previous range high. And strong bounce to the upside. But what shape are we seeing? We're seeing a very rounded shape here. So as much as we want to be super bullish, the risk on, risk off sort of context of the broader market is showing, hey man, we're not really sure what we want to do here. This is showing the bulls losing strength, losing momentum. You need to note that even if we're exiting the system in Bitcoin, this has to go to those highs up, way up, and way up here into the 150s, 160s, 180s, 200s. Well, it's got a lot of work to do before it gets there, because now when we're looking at this on the 1 hour, this morning, this was feeling good with this nice move to the upside, only to sell off from the data that suggested that the rate cuts are absolutely needed and we're likely to get more of them. This goes to that context also of a little bit of like, oh man, our economy is kind of jacked up right now. That's kind of what the market's seeing. Now, on the other hand, we do have the never ending and increasing, basically demand that's come in for Bitcoin with the corporate treasuries, with nation states, with strategic Bitcoin reserves, with ETFs. The list just never stops on the bullishness that is looking long term. But in the near term, we may see a bit of a correction in the market. Now, as it stands right now, nothing's broken on this structurally. We still have this inverse head and shoulders, which does signal that we will likely get a move up if you measure that target from here to here, basically the deep part of the head back to this neckline, which is right along this zone right here. Just eyeballed it, got it, nailed it. This would take us back up to the target would be about 119.7, which would clear that CME futures gap. But again, everything kind of feels like it's on pins and needles here with ultimate bullishness, with also some contextual risk off sort of signals. So while I'm still a bull, as it stands right now, this isn't necessarily scary because we still have higher lows throughout all of this. You can see this kind of higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. If this starts breaking down below 109, especially if we lose 107, then we start basically throwing this potential reversal pattern away. As it stands right now, this currently looks a little bit like a washout. Let's look at what let's check out what it looks like on the liquidation heat map. And yeah, look, we had more liquidity below us. As this price was coming up here, there's some here, but there's more liquidity below us of people that went long, came down, flushed them out, came down a bit deeper. In fact, we've got a little bit further to go to flush out this most effectively, which would be down to about 110, maybe a little deeper, 110.8 down to about 110.5. But until this is cleared, this does not look bearish to me until this is cleared and it keeps going. So we want to see some things mature here in the price action, especially going into the FOMC meeting next week. Is it next week? I believe it's next week. Yeah. So looking at that, we got Shake and Bake in the house. How you doing? We got Ugin Sky, Julio, Chris Pfaff. How you doing? Objectively, how you doing? Always good to see you. Pretty Rich, that guy. Sack Nasty, 86. Theo Rodriguez, Green Day Prophets, one of the first ones in the room. One House Productions, almost usually one of the first people in the room. Sean Miller, how you doing, my friend? Chipper, good to see every single one of you. I should have my walls done tomorrow in terms of, I got some art and I got some shelving and stuff. We got to get the Bitcoin and crypto ticker back up on the walls. And I'm excited about that. And back to doing some educational content for all of you that are in the Discord. I got a bunch of stuff that's basically planned out that's going to start getting released there. So I'm excited about that. So yes, we got the shakeup of the century, biggest payroll revision in history. And yet, it also means that the most important data that the market has been following has been off by 50% for the past year, and all capital allocation decisions were wrong. Because again, when you are investing, you're trying to forecast how the broader market is looking at this as in putting more money in the market, which is risk on, or pulling money out of certain assets and putting them into safety, which is risk off. And because the landscape, the entire underpinning of the economy is jobs, and it's all been fake, people are kind of like, wait, God dang. So what does this mean? Now, on the one hand, we may start seeing a huge amount of money printing coming in soon, especially if this market is as weak as the job market is as weak as this revision suggests. Now that we're getting the rate cuts, quantitative easing is coming back, right? But people, I think there's going to be a little bit of a shakeup over the next, I would say into the end of this week about what to make of this data. Now, we also see more bullishness. Cantor Fitzgerald launches a new Bitcoin and gold fund. Investors get 45% of Bitcoin's upside with gold protecting the principal. I think this is going to attract a lot of traditional finance people. And that doesn't mean somebody that's actually working on Wall Street. My mom is a traditional finance person, meaning she only invests in traditional finance assets. So this type of thing may be one of those new channels, new access points, new doorways for people that are interested but still on the fence, because you're getting that sort of that anchor in this investment with gold. So we're going to start seeing so many different types of products and Bitcoin bonds and investment funds that have some allocations or variations of allocations with other assets anchoring them. We're going to see so many broad strokes here as the market is waking up and opening up to embrace what we're seeing in the crypto ecosystem. So let's jump in. We're doing a lot of TA today. I didn't really want to go through a lot of news. For all of you that are not aware, I am doing the 4 p.m. show on Discover Crypto now. We're going to be breaking down a bunch of stuff. TA, I'm going to be having different guests on, different interviews, also breaking down trading. We're going to be doing also prop trading for those of you that are a bit newer to the market. It's a way to really gain leverage in the market without having a huge amount of risk exposure to do that. It's a great training mechanism, and I can't wait to be deploying that with you guys. We got Trader Main that's going to be coming on as well. I'm working on getting Kevin Svensson back on the channel and a couple of other major players. So stay tuned for that in the afternoons on the Discover Crypto channel. So it'll also live stream through my Twitter, through Discover Crypto's Twitter, as well as YouTube. So you'll be able to catch it in a bunch of places. But I want to get into some TA. Before we dive into that, I do want to shout out our channel partner, Arculus. Make sure everything you're doing, that you don't stack in a bunch of crypto and then only to get it phished or lost or hacked and all these different issues that pop up on a daily basis. Protect your crypto, protect your future. Head over to getarculus.com. It's spelled just like this right here. Getarculus.com. Use code DC20, which is DC20, or BitLab20, BitLab20 for 20% off the best crypto cold storage solution that is out there. And of course, you can sign up to trade with us here on Blowfin or on LBank. Those links are in the description down below, and that will get you access into the trading section of our Discord, which is published. That link is in the top of the live chat there. Now we've got 1,612 people tuned in between X and YouTube. So shout out to each and every one of you there. But let's look at the levels. Let's look at the charts. What are the signals? Because I still think liftoff is loading. The question's going to be, is this going to be a liftoff that is just going to be a trap that just sends us down into the abyss? Or is this going to be a liftoff that finds support and has continuation to the upside? That is what everybody is wondering right now, especially as we're coming into that focus point in the charts about where that 4-year cycle is. In fact, if we pull up Bitcoin strategy platform right here and look at the halving data, but also the cycle data, again, I've shared this with you all many times before, but this does still suggest that there is upside left. So this goes back to what I think it was yesterday's stream where I said liftoff loading. The question is going to be on the liftoff. Is the liftoff going to push up, have some sell-off where bulls defend, and we continue beyond this date range? I'm not interested in the angle that this goes up or how high it goes up on this next impulse. My question is going to be on the next dip from the next impulse up. Where do the bulls defend, or do the bulls take over? That's what we all need to be focusing on right now. And it's going to be very important for Bitcoin, but more important for those of you that are in Ethereum and the rest of the altcoin market, because if this does have a push up and a breakdown that has bears continuing the move to the downside, your alts are going to render your spirit broken if you do not have a plan. So now with everybody that's in the room right now, I want to see everybody in the live chat. I want to see the 3 coins, and Bitcoin can be included, but the 3 coins, if you had to buy, not you're already holding from lower, if you had to buy today and hold them for 1 year from today, which 3 coins would you buy? Which ones do you think would either move up the highest or prevent the most amount of downside? So I'm curious what coins you all would say within that. Shout out T. Owen. How you doing? Ken Moranville. How you doing? GD. Morgan Powell. We got the crew in here today. Seth Shepard. Trump is the worst happening to the U.S. Well, maybe. I think there's an enormous amount of great things that are happening and an enormous amount of things that are like, what the F? But I think we are in a very interesting time. Also, I hope you all realize some of the craziness that we're all experiencing in the economy, in the market, and politics is actually not even as crazy as everybody thinks it is. There's a major difference now where everybody is hyper connected to so many different types of data, opinions, fact or not fact or misinformation. People on the right think that the left have people that it's, that basically all the wrong facts. People on the left think everybody on the right has lost their mind and they have all the wrong facts. We all need to realize nobody has any freaking idea what the hell's going on, because the data that we're getting is, as shown today by the jobs report being revised down, the largest revision in history. I don't care if we're talking about race relations or politics or money or what's going on with the Fed or health. Nobody has a freaking clue. We need to realize that we cannot downcast the living hell out of somebody just because they have an entirely different algorithm of information that is setting them up to think that way. They're not just pulling things and saying, some crazy nonsense out of nothing. There's just an onslaught of facts that support that on either side of the aisle. So let's realize we're both wrong. Let's come in the middle and say, hey, this is some crazy stuff going on right now, all right? What do you believe in? Not what does the politics say? What do you believe in? Let's connect on what we believe in, not on the different slants that political leanings give us. And then say, but your guy, we're not going to be children anymore, especially not on this channel and not in the chat here. Everybody's a jackass. You're a jackass. I'm a jackass. Biden's a jackass. Trump's a jackass. So let's all just realize we're jackasses and figure out how we can do better for each other, do better for our portfolios so that we can do better for our family. Let's come together, man. Let's screw all this nonsense division, man. Let's show some love, baby. All right, now let's get into these charts. Ethereum. This girl right here, she is setting up to absolutely set your profits on fire to the upside or completely render everything you have in your altcoin portfolio just a sad testament of crying and shame, and this cycle is just going to ruin everybody. Why do I say that? Because look at this. This is Ethereum to US dollar. We've got this beautiful channel here that we did fake out to the downside, but we just cannot we cannot test this all-time high and actually break through it. We just keep getting there, and getting rejected into a time where everything is coming to a head of the economy might collapse. The French government's cabinet just collapsed. We got jobs numbers that suggest our economy is falling apart. And yet every one of us wants this market just to, this is what we want. We just want this to the upside. Give me a big green banger all the way up here. But the data on the one hand is suggesting we're getting more adoption and integration and deployment and positive mainstream media coverage. But it's coming at a time where, again, coming back to the S&P 500, super bullish, but coming here on the 8-hour chart, look at this, V-shaped correction, great. But now that the price action on the basically stock market, S&P 500 index, just rolling over. And if you were to take out, let me just show you something here. Let me see if I can do this. Let's do SP 500. SP 500. Okay, there we go. SPX. There it is. SPX minus NVDA minus AAPL minus META. And what's the last one? Microsoft, MSFT. Let's see what that shows. Okay. Did this subtract? So yeah, so it's pushing up and we're getting smaller impulses. What do we see? That's a large impulse. Look at this. Much smaller. Okay, let's drag this down here. And angled, right? Now let's copy that, paste it. Let's look. Is this the same size? No, it's smaller and slightly more angled. This is starting to lean over. If this rolls over and we do get a move to the downside, first off, it won't be the end of the world because the market has always recovered. I mean, look at this. This is going back to 2013. Yes, sell off, recover, sell off, recover, sell off, recover. The question is what's going to happen. What we really want to watch on the S&P 500, let's go back just to the SPX chart, is if the price action, if this rolls over and does not find support here at 6140, 6130, which is its previous range high, this may be an indication, especially two things. If this rolls over and comes down, God dang it. If this comes over and rolls down, bounces here, great. That's not the end of the story for bears. If this pushes up and we get a lower high here, that's going to be very interesting for a signal for potential further downside. This will be a major impact on what we're looking at when we're looking at Bitcoin and altcoins, because this would be a major signal that there's risk off sentiment in the market. And we've seen already in Bitcoin and Ethereum and crypto that a major driver this cycle is the big money pockets, the traditional finance people, the capital channels, the corporate treasuries. All of this is really affecting the pocketbooks and how money is getting deployed in the crypto market. So if this were to take place, we're going to see more likely than not some depressive price action in the market that may result in looking like the 4-year cycles, the same old. So we need to pay attention to this. If we, find any sort of move to the downside and bounce, anywhere here and push up, show strength and continue, then it's going to be full bull, and push into 2026 like we're expecting. One of the questions here is that the economy is an absolute, a false sense of the economy is strong. We're seeing that with the jobs numbers. But we're also seeing pressures from tariffs. And we're also seeing a shakeup of confidence, whether you like Trump or not. It's not about him, but in the fact that there's no this is how it's done playbook that's being operated on right now. So that shakes investors' confidence in the market. But at the same time, we have, runaway debt. Inflation is, we have runaway debt right now with over $1 trillion added to the debt about every 2 to 3 months. Okay. We have new bills that are getting put out that have already been signed into law. We've got more that are coming down the pipe that are all spending more money. Well, in order to facilitate that, money printing is going to have to take place here in the US. The Treasury General Account has already rolled off a huge amount of money. We got the reverse repo that is basically bottoming out. We have the interest rates that are looking like they're going to be cut. So we're getting two major conflicting signals in the market right now, where it looks like on the one hand, we're about to go Super Bowl into 2026, maybe even into 2027. On the other hand, in the near term, it does look like that we may get a little bit of a, hey man, we need to evaluate where our risk is in this market. So I know some of you are probably frustrated. Kelly, why aren't you telling me what Fartcoin is going to do? Why aren't you telling me what Athena is going to do and Cardano? All of these things are going to get overwhelmingly either uplifted or suppressed based on this risk narrative that's going to be defined over this next month. So let's keep our eye on the ball. Continuing on with the charts, let's get into it because we, Ethereum again, coming right up into that nice, beautiful V-shaped recovery. Right, look, cannot break through it. If we do, I'm expecting the next move to be up here. That would be, let's actually do a fib, option F, from the top to the bottom. Okay, look at that. That goes right into basically 1.618 to 1.786. The 1.618 is up at about $6,000. That does not mean if we break out of this, we're going straight there. In fact, I'd be a little cautious once we pass $5,200 to $5,300 because we do have a key fib there. The question's going to be, even with the pump on Bitcoin and Ethereum and the stock market, the question's going to be on the pump that we may see resulting in this rate cut that's coming up, whether we run up into it or pump after, we will get a retrace. Why? Because every asset in history on a bull trend has a rise, has a retrace, and then either a continuation or a lower high and a breakdown. This is what we want to pay attention to right here on this next wave. If we do get the pump on the breakdown here, this is going to be highly contested across different analysts and different channels and different people that are speaking about markets. Even within your own heart, you're going to be having a battle for the bulls and for the bears because of the hope for this market continuing going higher with the expectation because of quantitative easing and the likely money printing that's coming in, that's going to happen. On the other hand, especially with Bitcoin in the crypto market, we have the compounded sort of concern about the 4-year cycle actually playing out again. And on a downtrend here, I think it's going to take some effort with some sideways action. So what I'd like to see on Bitcoin, if we get the bullish take, that plays out here, I'd actually like to see an impulse to the upside, right? I'd like to see an impulse to the upside, a sell off, come down, find support. I'd like to see some sideways price action in here into, like November, especially a bit of a sell off here. Everybody thinks that's the top. That was okay. Yeah. 4-year cycle. And then sort of curve out into the end of the year and then just moonshot from there. But I don't know how it's going to play out. This is why we talk about this every day as new data comes out, as new economic data comes out, as new signals come out based on-chain data, who's buying, who's selling, are there increases, is there more demand coming in with less available supply? This is why we're looking at this on a daily basis. But these are the key points that I'm watching in the market right now that's going to really help determine what we're seeing in the other half of the crypto space, which is, Ethereum. Ethereum here, look, yeah, I mean, double top, sure, but we've got this beautiful rising level of support that's coming into here, and this is trying to hold on. If this is lost, it's not the end of the world. We'll be looking about right here to come down to about, and we've been talking about this for 2 or 3 weeks, an opportunity here. If this comes down and bounces, we want to watch this level, whether or not that's a confirmation and then a further move down or a move up into this, find support, and then continuation. Kelly, why aren't you telling us if it's going to go up or down? Because we're coming into a time where the appetite for crypto is more bullish than we've ever seen, but that also presents the major risk possibility of the market taking advantage of the most people. Because it's so bullish on the landscape and context of the market, but the economy is also very bullish on the one hand, but also looks very weak when you look at it without the rose colored glasses. I think we need to be a little risk hedged right now. That does not mean sell everything. It means you need to be watching this like a hawk. If we do get the drop and then a lower high, then, we can start talking about taking some more substantial exits in the market. Chainlink, actually Chainlink just broke out. So Chainlink broke out of this, beautiful falling channel here. We kind of had it as a head and shoulders, this shoulder, head, shoulder. But I got to looking at it and, we've got this descending level of support here, descending level of resistance, broke out up. Now we're kind of in the throes of potentially forming an inverse head and shoulders here. So while we had the bearish reversal pattern here, we also have the bearish reversal pattern that formed a bullish breakout pattern with a larger, bullish breakout pattern reversal there with the inverse head and shoulders. The point here is there's a bearish signal with a bullish signal with a little bit more of a bullish signal here, but it's all going to depend on what happens in the next, I would say, 3 weeks as to what we're going to see in the coming months. So we need to be a little bit cautious here. We can even see this on the volume. Look, huge amount of volume here as this was chopping in here. Now, look, we got the breakout, but the volume is flat. What does it look like on the the money flow. So we had a bit of a, let's see, let's go to the 4 hour. Let's delete this. Let's delete all the nonsense shenanigans up here. Okay, oops, there we go. Let's delete this as well. Got to clean it up. We did have a bit of a bullish divergence coming in here with the RSI. Let's see, do we have it on the hourly? Price action was coming lower. Money flow really started to come in there. So that was a bit bullish. You see this higher, higher, and higher. Even though this is low, this isn't as deep. So, and now we got the pop here. The question is going to be, is this a fake out? Well, what do we do? What do we look for? On the breakout of any trend line, whether it's up or down, in this case, it's up, you want to see what happens on the return to the scene of the crime. Here's the crime, broke the resistance. Okay, boom, came down, kind of tested it, but now doesn't necessarily mean it's over. We want to see what happens in this region right here. That would be the scene of the crime. Whether it comes all the way down and tests this trend line, this one right here, right? Projected out, or right into the meat of all of this price action, that would still be very bullish if it bounces. And then we can consider that. But as it stands right now, again, I'm a little bit cautious on the altcoin signals because they're all taking the lead from the confusion that we're seeing in the market right now about the jobs numbers down. But wait, that's actually really bad. That means that we might be seeing worse economic troubles coming down the pipeline. So we need to be a little bit cautious here. Let me scroll down in the chat. Who else we got in the house? Big love to everybody that is here. I do appreciate you. But yeah, guys, that's what I'm seeing right now in the market. We saw that pretty large move. Remember Crow, the partnership? Oh my God. And then people bought up here because they thought they were missing it. This is one of those signals. Oh my God. Wait, actually that's on the hourly. That's not even it. Here we go. Here's the move. This was that data with Trump and the, stacking in with Crow and all their partnership. Nice move to the upside. And then the sell off. Currently what we're seeing on here is a bit of a bull flag. Okay. Bit of a bull flag. Here's resistance. Here's support, kind of like that. And technically speaking, you measure this bottom to the top on the flagpole, measure this out to that. The target on this, if it were to play out, is up here at about 60 cents, 61 cents. However, if you look at this on the 1 hour, we just saw that little bull trap to the upside. Come on. There we go. Little bull trap to the upside comes right back down. And look at this. The bullish move, look at this green candle. This is a volume, how much Crow was traded here. And then more volume became bearish pressure here. So that shows you this was a bit of a bull trap, came right back down inside. I'd be watching this pretty closely because if that's a weakness that is here, they tried to really trap people long, which means, in my opinion, that we'll likely get a move down here into the 22 cent range, 22, 23 cent, and then likely, I would just I'd be cautious here. Avalanche, still very bullish on, but it's going to fall victim of what the sentiment of the broader market is. So again, I'm just going to remind you guys, see these indicators, everything on the screen. I want more screen space here. Right click on the chart first. That way, the reason I say that is if you have like the drawing tool, if you double click on the thing, you see nothing happen. You just drew a couple more dots here. So let me remove all that. Right click first. See right here where the drawing, oh, you can't see it right there. See where the drawing tool is on? If you right click on the chart, it deactivates that. Now, double click on the chart. You can minimize the indicators, double click on the chart, bring them back. Quick little tip for you there. But we're seeing this is just, this looks like it's just coiling into this for a move, but this is going to follow the direction of the broader market. This standalone tells me this wants to go higher. If the market has a bigger sell-off or some sort of big shakeout here in the next week or so, then I do expect this to come down and then make the move. So caution is all I'm saying. Ondo also made really great integrations with their 100 different assets that they just listed. They tokenized 100 plus different traditional finance, assets like NVIDIA and a ton of stuff, in addition to what they're doing with the US Treasuries, right? This is looking on the 3-day, looks like it's rounding out, wants to make the move, but what does this look like on the 4 hour? Okay, the bearish the bearish volume is kind of dominating here. Tried to make the move, bull trap, came back down, just like we saw on Crow. I wouldn't be surprised if this came down and, tested down into that 92, 93 cent range. But currently, this sell-off came correct right here to this previous range tops. So this could have been a trap. And what have we talked about? For the last 2.5 years in crypto, we're seeing a lot of, oh, it's bullish, bull trap. Oh no, they tricked us, it's bearish, bear trap. And then you get the move. So in this case, look, we had the move for the bulls. And what was signaled here? Look at this candle. This candle signaled that weakness. Bullish candle, all body, meaning no wick, right? This is a wick. Bullish candle, and then we got the bulls tried, the bears brought it right back down on this 4-hour candle. This signaled that this was the move. Very likely that we're going to get a reversal from here. Then what we get? The bulls tried again, got rejected, and boom, came down. But where are they at? Right at the previous range highs, right here. Okay? So if this can hold, then this was a bull trap, this was a bear trap, find equilibrium, then go. So let's be a little cautious here. The market's playing some reindeer games with ups and downs. It traps you long, then it traps you shorts, then it makes you move. But it's only trapping people long and then trapping people short that are getting emotional and buying the hope and then selling the fear. So do not do that. I don't care if you're in Bitcoin, Nvidia, Apple. I don't care the asset that you're in. Don't go buying hope, chasing waterfalls, as the song is, and then end up selling in fear, and then only to see the market go in the direction you originally thought. But you're getting trapped in the emotions of the moment. And that's what we're seeing right now, especially going into this super hyper focused and hyped up FOMC meeting that's next week. So let's all keep our mind about us. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Let me just scroll down here. Green Day Profits, not married to any token. That's right. At least saying it has, saying it has, it is there. There are dark clouds ahead. There's interesting clouds. I wouldn't necessarily call them dark clouds. We just need to remember there's nothing good or bad in these markets. It's not bullish or bearish. The price action will do things, both to the upside, both to the downside. You can use, signals and indicators like Fibonacci's and horizontal lines and patterns, but all those things are just reference points that you can take probabilistic moves on. It's not good if the market goes up. It's not bad if the market goes down. The market's going to move around, especially when you look at the stock market. It's only gone up and to the right. There's been dips along the way. Some people call them recessions. Some people call them Great Depressions. But if you take the morality out of it and just look at the chart, it's going to make moves, both on the small time frame, on the medium time frame, and the large time frame. Our goal here as an investor and as a trader is to identify when those shifts are going to occur. And it's not just based on what I'm feeling. I'm trying to sort of dissect what the market is likely to do in response to different and changing data and different and changing environments that are surrounding the market that I'm in, and the markets that is attached to and will be influenced by. So there's not good or bad in the markets. It's just how you are navigating them. Or are you allowing the market to navigate you emotionally to where you just give money over? That's not what we want. We want to trade on probabilities. We want to invest with courage and stamina. And that courage and stamina comes from the data and due diligence that we utilize in order to inform ourselves. But that's all I got for today's show, everybody. I love you. I appreciate you. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Put your hand on your heart at some point today. Tell yourself you forgive yourself for anything stupid you've done lately. Forgive yourself for not going after it a better way. Love yourself. Go give your friends and family. Call somebody you haven't called in a while. Tell them you love them. Forgive somebody on the street that you think is being a jackwad. Maybe they're just having a bad day. You don't need to take it personally. And let's get in these markets together. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Hope you're all doing well. And I'll see you at 4:00 on the Discover Crypto stream. Adios, muchachos.